Just to start things off, I want to take a minute here before we go any further and continue to play to address everyone's main concerns with Stella Sora, the game we're currently playing, the game that just released, including a statement that I did make about the game before it released. Now, I also want to go ahead here and add a little bit of context here before I do. I'm going to go ahead here and display capture. That way you guys could see exactly what I'm going to show, okay? The version of the game that we were given access to is a different version of the game that is currently available at launch. As an example, right here, okay, you'll all see, when you pulled for Gacha here, okay, right? The Gacha, it wasn't even fully implemented, right? The Gacha wasn't even fully implemented. The version of the game that we had access to, that we covered, wasn't even the complete version of the game. With the knowledge that I had at the time, okay, I made this tweet over on Twitter. I said, Stella Sora is releasing on the 19th. This was posted on the 17th. This was posted 2 days before release. It is one of the Gacha games I'm most excited for, because it is. In light of this, I went ahead and made a beginner's guide to help you guys start the game off correctly. This is a Gacha game with guaranteed Gacha, no 50-50 BS. Okay, that is what I stated verbatim. No 50-50 BS and a guaranteed Gacha. That is wrong, chat. That is actually wrong. Now, before I go any further into this, I also want to take a moment to state that this, and I do want to state this unequivocally, and I want to make it explicitly clear in as definitive detail as I possibly can, chat. Okay? This is not an attack on Stella Sora. This is not an attack on the company, YoStar, either. This is not me doom posting the game. This is not me doom posting the company. This is not based on anything unfounded or speculation at all. This is me taking the time here to clear up some misconceptions about the game. This is me correcting a now factually incorrect statement that I did make before the game released. I mean, at the end of the day, this is why you trust me, right? For information, for reviews, for news. It's because I'm honest, I'm genuine, and I hold companies accountable, right? I will own up to things if I'm wrong, or I will own up to things if information changes. Right now, I was sponsored by them twice, but as always, my views, my opinions are never influenced. These are always 100% my own. With that out of the way, now that I've made that completely clear, I'm hoping people here now understand and don't just immediately jump to the conclusion that we're attacking anything or anyone. And again, I have enjoyed the game immensely so far. I'm still enjoying the game, and I'm still going to play it because I believe that YoStar has the chance. How dare you be a human being and make mistakes? I'm hoping they have the chance, because they do have the chance. I'm hoping they take the time here to actually address the issues that we have, because this is only day one. They published what? Azure Lane. They published Ether Gazer. They did publish Arknights at one point, right? So they are known to be pretty friendly and pretty forgiving with their games. Every game, every company can make mistakes. This is day one, but I made this statement, which is now proven to be wrong. So I posted an update over on Twitter. Now, I showed you all that the Gacha in the version that I had access to just a couple days before launch was still very broken with very different information, okay? This was still using a build of the game that had different information to what was currently available. Now, yes, no 50-50 is true. There, at the time of recording, there was no 50-50. On the 17th of October, the version that I played, there was no 50-50 in the game. Rather, there was a 60-40, okay? Gacha was a 60-40, and the disc Gacha was 75-25. It was very different to what is in game right now, because what is in game right now is, for the limited banner characters, a 50% chance. So it is a 50-50. It is a 50-50. That was not the case in the version I played, all right? Once again, the version I played had a 60-40. There was no 50-50 at all. And I stated this. The chance of obtaining a limited banner character was 1.6%. I don't know if that was changed. Let me verify real quick and see if that was changed. The 5-star base rate is 2%. Okay, so the rate of unit acquisition was increased from 1.6 to 2%. So they did in fact increase the rate of unit acquisition. from 1.6 to 2%. I said I don't believe this was changed. It was changed. There was no 50-50 present because there wasn't. Once again, there was a 60-40 present in the game. That's much better than a 50-50. That was the previous version of the game, 60-40. It had a 75-25 system for discs. Once again, I stated that explicitly. Checking the discs now, it seems as though, where's it at? 75-25. So the rate for the discs is still 75-25. That was very much so the same. Okay, let me make that abundantly clear. As a follow-up, in the version of the game that I played, in the version of the game that many people played. Okay, let me rephrase too. Let me just make this also very clear. There is a guarantee in game, right? There is a 100% guarantee in game. After 120 polls, you can claim the character without the 50-50. Completely disregarding 50-50, after 120 polls straight, you can claim the limited banner character. That means you can get the character with a 50-50, and then you can get the character with the guarantee as well at 120, which means you can essentially get two versions of the same character within that same 120 range. Okay, so that's actually not bad. But my issue here is that there was no 50-50 present in the version I played, and there is now. So I stated there was no 50-50 because there was not. And then they changed that after the fact without the knowledge of the content creators, without the knowledge of the public either, until it actually fully released. So that makes it look like I and anyone else who was discussing it was spreading misinformation, when the fact of the matter was we weren't. We were sharing information that we had access to, once again, on the 17th of October. The game launched on the 19th. This was information we all had access to 2 days before the game released. In no way would any of us have expected them to change the rate from the game that they gave us to do our dedicated videos on, that they paid us to do our dedicated videos on. Under no circumstance should that have been changed, and in no way did we expect that to change. Okay? Now, as a follow-up to that, another thing that was changed was the cost of the polls. So in the previous versions, the versions that we played, it used to cost 160 gems, currency per poll, or 1,600 for a 10 poll. Okay, 1,600 for a 10 poll. Now for a 10 poll, okay, it costs 3,000. I believe it was 160. Might have been 150. I'm pretty sure it was 160. I unfortunately, as I noted, like with the footage I have, I actually didn't like record myself checking it. I just recorded myself like clicking the different stuff in the menus, because that is the footage I needed rather than the rates. I'm kicking myself, man, that I didn't fucking record every bit of it. I just didn't expect it to happen, you know? But like, once again, I have all the footage here. I have the footage of everything, every single thing that happened, from, you know, the tutorial right here, the intro, right? From the 17th, well, actually the 5th, though, what is that? Like the 5th, right? Yeah. I had recordings from the 5th all the way until the 17th. So we have the 5th, we have the 6th, we have the 7th, the 8th, the 15th, all the way up until the final day, chat. The final day that they had me record the footage. Up until that final day when they, you know, decided to not showcase exactly what we were discussing. So up until that point, they showed everything. Now, once again, they changed it from 1,600 per temple to 3,000 per temple. That is a huge change. A huge change. But once again, I want to make this as clear as I can. When I made this tweet, it was not with the intention of spreading misinformation, because this was not misinformation at the time. This was fact. There is a guaranteed gacha, and there was no 50-50. There was a 60-40, which sure isn't a whole lot better than a 50-50, but it's still better than a 50-50. And honestly, I could have phrased this a little better. You know, no 50-50 necessary. I totally agree that I could have been phrased like that, but in no way was this intentional misinformation. What this was the company itself changing the day the game released. So is that my fault? I mean, I stated this, so I will take full responsibility for stating this. But at the same time, when we're playing a version on the 17th and it's launching within 48 hours, in theory, that should be the version, since they're paying us to play and record on that version, that should be the version that players are going to get, right? That should be the version that we're going to get. So is it, again, I take responsibility for making disclaimer to statement, but I made disclaimer to statement based off of the game that they told us was going to be the game that was going to release. That's it. If they released it in this form, this would have been 100% fact. But unfortunately, they didn't. They decided to change it last minute. And therefore, this comes off now as misinformation when it's not. Again, I take full responsibility for that. I totally get it if people were upset with me for that. There actually weren't many. There were a few, admittedly. But I just want to clear the air here. There's a lot of people upset, not specifically at me, but specifically at the studio here, YoStar, because they changed it to include 50/50. They changed it to increase from 1,600 per temple to 3,000 per temple without anyone knowing. This is targeted more at whales than it is free-to-play players. Because back at 1,600 per temple, with a 60/40, a guarantee, and a 70/25 for the discs, those are pretty decent rates, right? It's not your fault? Okay, good. Yeah, I just want to make that abundantly clear. These were pretty good rates. Those were actually pretty good. Honestly, if they just removed the entire, the entire thing and just made it a guarantee at 120 with a Spark system like Blue Archive has, I think that would have been a lot better. But I'd take a 60/40 over a 50/50 any day. And I honestly think they should have kept it at 1,600 per temple. Now, again, I will state here, I do not think that this is like an end of service. I don't think, everyone is pissed. I don't think everyone is upset. I don't think the game is bad. On the contrary, I still think the game is very good. I still think the game is very fun. I still think plenty of people are having fun with the game because they are. I do, however, think that if they do not address this, because they need to, they 100% need to address this. If they do not address this, if they do not make changes to make it more free-to-play friendly, to make it more accessible to players, then I think there might be an issue. I think it is definitely going to turn free players away from playing the game. Because at this juncture, we're still in the honeymoon phase. We're still really enjoying everything the game has to offer. But the honeymoon phase is going to end pretty quickly. The game does have a very finite amount of content. So this is something that needs to be remedied in the next few days. Again, as I noted earlier, Puto with Wuthering Waves, they addressed things like that. They gave away free SSR selectors, right? They gave away free characters like Shangli Yao. They listened to player feedback. They did everything they could to make the game better for the player. As this is another example, Persona 5 to Phantom X with Sega, they didn't do that until recently. With Black Beacon, they didn't either. They shafted Global by giving China everything, and then, much later decided, after receiving significant criticism and backlash, that they would, in fact, give Global, the same that Black Beacon got. But in many instances here, they have one chance here to remedy this. And this is their chance to address it. So, this is their opportunity. It's now or never, chat. 100% now or never. Because, again, this is a good game. I know you think that you just hit the end of the video, and technically, yeah, you have. And I know your first reaction is to close out of it at this juncture, but don't. No, instead, I urge you to take a moment here and click one of the videos on screen that are coming up in just a moment so you remain up to date with everything going on in the gacha genre. Trust me, you are not going to regret doing so. Stay flaccid.